Welcome, everyone. I hope we're all having a wonderful day. I wanted to welcome you all to Maximize Your Margin Gift and Home Merchandise with your moderator, Jules Lewis Gibson with Florist Review, Caroline Woods with Accent Decor, and Jeremy Bauer and Jason Clifton with Frenchie's Florals.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm very excited about this today because I'm hoping we'll get some really great information to help everybody with their business. For those of you who may not realize, Florist Review was acquired by my company last year, which is very exciting. I've been in the media business. I've owned a media company for 11 years now, and my publications were all consumer-based before. So this is a whole new world being on the wholesale side, and it's very exciting because most of my career has been in marketing and advertising, and specifically more for the home industry. So I started 30 years ago back in the high-end home industry as a marketing director for a luxury furniture company, and grew an advertising agency that specialized in the home industry and had clients all over the country. So when I came into this new venture last year, that was one of the things that I thought was really important to help florists maximize their profits by having other options for gifts and home decor items that would work well with florals. Today's world it's very expensive to have retail space these days, whether you've got 200 square feet or 2,000 square feet. It's expensive to have retail space. And if you can really maximize every square foot on your floor, and then also just from your website as well, you can really increase your profit margins, you can increase your sales. And it's so important these days because consumers are looking for other options. I mean, even myself, for Mother's Day, I bought my mother flowers, and I switched from the florist that we've used for decades to a new florist because I wanted to be able to offer her a gift. I wanted a big, beautiful arrangement, but I also wanted a little something else. I wanted a candle and a piece of chocolate, a Godiva chocolate. I just wanted her to have something a little bit more on the day. And I had to switch florists because the florist that we had always used had really limited options. They had like a little bear, and it just wasn't something that my 80-year-old mother was really gonna appreciate. And it just turned out beautifully. She was so excited and so happy, and I was thrilled. And now I'm, switch my business for good because I have more options. And I know I'm not alone. There's so many consumers out there that are looking for ways to be a little bit special, to offer something a little bit more. And after all, we are in the extra world. Everyone wants to be a little extra. So you've got to offer a little extra. So it's exciting today. That's one thing that we really try in Florist Review. We really try to give you an overview of what's new in the industry, what's coming out, what's going on, what's exciting, different ways to build your business, different ways, different ideas, whether it be social media or marketing or design ideas. We work really hard every month to bring you new content that's really going to help you build your business. So I'm excited to be here today. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm so excited. Now we're going to start the day with a conversation with Jeremy and Jason. Now, Jeremy and Jason are joining us from Alaska, Juneau, Alaska, which is really exciting. And welcome, guys.
Well, thank you so much for having us today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so tell me a little bit about your journey in the floral industry. We were chatting a little bit before we opened, and you mentioned that you guys were transplant to Alaska. And so tell us a little bit how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're both Midwestern transplants to Alaska, as you mentioned. And so with strong backgrounds in agriculture, farming, livestock, and whatnot. And so we found ourselves here. We joined forces back in 2006 and developed our interior design studio, which is Bauer Clifton Interiors. Mm-hmm. And floral and plants, those have always had a very strong integration within all of our interior designs, whether it's residential or hospitality, primarily not only for aesthetics, but then also the mental health benefits of such too. And so just over the years, we grew kind of frustrated with our local or lack thereof options, basically, for not only incorporating those into our designs, but then also for portfolio shoots and editorials. So we eventually just developed or decided to develop our sister company, Frenchie's Floral Studio, back in 2016 and launched it in 2017. And it's been a wild ride ever since, essentially.
Now, and so now you recently enlarged your studio too, is that right? So you recently kind of underwent a little change?
Yeah, we quadrupled the size, went from about 200 square feet to almost 1,400 square feet. So really opened up our opportunity for adding gift items.
Which is more than quadruple, but you get it.
Oh yeah,
it's expanded.
That's a big change. So were you primarily just, you just had your cooler and your flowers and your table and
just exactly, and a small display shelf that incorporated like a candle line, some of our sweets options, sweet treats that we would always make available, as well as potted succulents. And so this expansion has allowed us to truly expand those offerings. So now we have 4 candle lines or fragrance lines, house plants, trees, as well as, going into some food items, pantry related, and home decor. So it truly does kind of like bridge our 2 companies and brands together, and then offer it or creates that lifestyle one-stop shop for our customers.
Now, what would you say, like, what is the percentage of your business that's kind of florist as opposed to the decor side?
it's roughly around 25%. We saw kind of a change once we added all those new lines to the bottom.
So when you did your new store, because that was kind of a gamble to increase your size so much. Did you see it that were you already having requests for more things, or were you just kind of like deciding that what people needed, they just didn't know they needed it yet? Or how did you go about that decision?
There was that, but I mean, the floral side grew enough that no matter if we added the gift items or not, we had to expand our flower side. It just was an imperative to do that. And so it became an opportunity for us to look at, okay, we have this extra space. We have the customer base. Let's add these extra items in here. And it also gave us the ability to kind of bring some of the concepts that we had from our design studio, some of the small home decor items, and give them, a stage to show off and really kind of test market that.
Mm-hmm. Which was always a part of our initial business plan, 5-10 year, but it was expedited through our experience with the pandemic. And so it was very difficult, as you can imagine, in 200 square feet to safely socially distance between team members as well as consumers. And so in the heart of the winter, when we had folks kind of just like waiting outside, it just, it was cumbersome. But, fortunately, everyone was understanding and cooperated, for everyone's safety. So by expanding, that has allowed our team to grow and everyone to operate safely and healthfully.
Nice. Now, what do you see categories that are working for you really well? I mean, what the candles are kind of a kind of an obvious add-on. What are some categories that you're seeing that are doing really well for you now?
We've seen, we brought in a series of books that have been really fun, talking about entertaining, in all aspects of how to incorporate plants into your life, home decor. Some of the home decor items, we brought in some pillows, some wall decor, and finding these small enough that they can still grab and go. It's not something that has to be delivered. So we've kind of found that we also have some larger pieces of furniture in there that I think people shy away from just because of I'm guessing that it's kind of a novel, or it's a bit of a foreign concept to walk into a floral, shop and, basically walk out with some larger scale, like coffee tables and display cases and whatnot. But we do have those available for special ordering. Yeah.
And then, we've kind of have developed a kitchen pantry sector as well, as to where have incorporate this line with, it's a French chef based out of New York, and it's just really unique flavor profiles. And so it's a great way to, kind of up the ante for those hostess with the mostess, or, and other entertaining facets too.
Nice. Now, one of the things I saw little snippets of your store, and you have a beautiful store, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Really, really nice. And I love the way that you showcase your vessels. I know you had several accent decor vessels in there, and the way, can you tell us a little bit about how you merchandise it? Because, a lot of stores, like, they keep all that stuff in the back. They don't really bring it up front, but you guys just put it right up front and give it the focal point.
Absolutely. And that's one of the main reasons why we gravitated towards accent decor at the very beginning and is our primary vessel source of choice, is because just the emphasis that they place on decor and aesthetics overall. And with our background in design, that was something that was really important for us to incorporate into Frenchies, so that, individuals who would receive an arrangement, they weren't, being left with just a plain clear vase that ultimately just stacks up in a cabinet or a cupboard somewhere in the house, in which, most people do have. So, we strive to have our items be more design related so that they can be multifunctional or continue to live on in their home, whether it's being refreshed with houseplants or flowers, or even, just simply placed on a shelf as aesthetic purposes. So with that in mind, we do have a variety of different collections like that on display in our space. And then it allows, consumers to shop them, but then also for our floral designers to pull from them for each one of their floral creations.
And the whole idea of bringing in a more designer vessel instead of the clear glass really plays into our mission statement of being more sustainable as a company, and thinking that we're trying to get people to reuse the vessels. Of course, we're looking, the old style, the old concept of florals was to use that clear vessel that costs $1.49, and so we're using something much more valuable and has a higher cost going into it. So we did have that little bit of a hurdle to train our clients that this is a little bit more expensive arrangement. And this is one of the reasons why what you end up with. And the idea is to bring that vessel back, refill it, reuse it. And it was a little bit of a hurdle, but it's working out great now.
Now, do you offer different price points? I mean, do you offer, we have small, medium, large as far as the arrangements. Do you offer different price points with, okay, here's your basic vessel, here's your upgraded vessel?
Yeah. Our offerings are a little bit unique. So we're more of a seasonal florist. And so we don't necessarily operate from floral recipes on a continual basis or on a daily basis, with the exception of our main holiday recipes or collections such as Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. Everything else is primarily just designer's choice. And so we give the consumer the opportunity to choose or to select their desired flower size or arrangement size / price point. And then because we have a variety of different vessels, they're able to select from different styles. So whether it's contemporary, rustic, romantic, or whimsical. And then that allows our designers to kind of pick and choose, and then curate something specific to them. And each arrangement is completely unique for each recipient.
Nice. Now, did most of your clients come into the store? I'm just wondering how you do that on the website.
So we have those options available on the website itself. And right now we're still utilizing the platform FloraNext. So it allows people to kind of go through step by step. And so they can't check out without selecting all of those options. But then, we get a number of individuals calling from over the phone, and we walk them through that process, or they come into the shop as well. But knowing that we are such a remote location, quite a bit of our clientele are families and friends who live, thousands of miles away. And so they contact us to help make their loved ones feel that much more special each day.
Wonderful. Now, do you see trends happening in gifts? What do you think that's coming up that's been successful for you, or that you think in the future is going to be coming down the line, some trends in gift sales or decor sale?
Mm-hmm. I think sustainability is, on everybody's mind of how can we reduce, reuse. And I think when we personally look at, choosing a vendor to work with, we're looking at how the product's made, where it's made, its carbon footprint, how it's packaged. And we're finding that even our guests that come into the store are very responsive when we actually educate them on where we found it and all those practices incorporated with bringing that product in. And so I think that's just super important. Something packaged inside of a clamshell, inside of a, shrink wrap, in styrofoam. It's just, we don't need that. And we really shy away from that type of packaging.
Mhm.
And the guests feel really good that we are setting that stance.
Mhm. Yeah. So for instance, like we have a line of lip balms that we carry, which is like a smaller price point. It's $10, but it's like right there on the cash or near the retail counter. And so it's an easy grab and go in addition. And so their packaging itself, I happen to have one right here, is like 100% cardboard, compostable. And the design itself allows them to incorporate like upwards of 35% more product in it as opposed or in comparison to a traditional chapstick like tube. So it's that as well as, plant-based food items that's been really popular too. Something just went through my head.
Food items, you mean with food items, what do you mean? Do you mean like Godiva chocolates or?
Yeah, so we actually, we do have like Sugarfina. That's been a fun brand to align ourselves with. But then we have also aligned ourselves with like Fine and Raw chocolates. And so they are like organic. Many of the items are plant-based. And just, the packaging itself, the branding is more in line with our branding. So it's, a little tongue in cheek in certain areas. It mentioned just the unique flavor profiles of the, that French line or pantry
Nicholas.
line. Yes. Yeah. So truffle. And so, with Frenchies, the namesake was after our French bulldogs. Yep. So that's kind of what developed that. And so, when we go through and kind of align ourselves with the brands, we're checking off not only what Jeremy had mentioned previously, but also, is it aesthetically driven? Does it have like a French twist in some capacity? So truffles, obviously there's a connection there. And then we also have even, we have a small corner of pet related items too. Just because, our community is very dog centric as we are as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's very clever the way you described that you have the chapstick right by the registry as a quick little add-on, because those types of merchandising ideas where you put something kind of small and quick, a little add-on, it's not much, but that's another $10, that's going to add on. And that's something quick that somebody can add on. I think that's a really, really clever idea from a merchandising standpoint. What other would you say like merchandising ideas would really work for you?
Another one was our macarons. We have a French bakery up in Anchorage, which is 500 miles away, that we have air freighted down to us about every other week. And that is almost an added on, $7 or $18 sale to almost every sale that we have. We just got our macarons in and, oh yeah, I'll take one. And so that worked out really well.
Yeah. So that's been fun just because it's how it correlates to our branding as well. And it's a unique product that no one else has. Like basically we have the territorial rights to as well. So you're not going to find that product in every other store within our community. And so that's something that we always keep in mind as well. But you had touched base on something in regards to when you were shopping for your mother in regards to, some of those add-ons on websites, teddy bears, so forth and so on. So, through attending IMC trade shows, like that's how we're introduced to these smaller add-on items, basically, because you're seeing them in person, they catch your eye from afar. And so, for instance, as opposed to teddy bears or mylar balloons, we have like hand-carved soapstone rocks, basically. So whether they're in a heart shape or a rock star shape. And so it's just those little, and they could be used as decor, a paperweight, but it's just that one additional sentimental gesture that just continues to like elevates the overall delivery experience for flowers.
Yes. Well, and you made such a good point that the IMC markets, that's really what really makes them such a gold mine for florists to really get outside their box. And see lots of different vessel companies, little gift items, little decor items, because the world's changing and we all have to change with it. And it's really important these days with brick and mortar. We all want to keep brick and mortar. We want brick and mortar around, but brick and mortar has to change a little bit. The days of your retail store being basically just a dusty old waiting room for the delivery guy. I mean, those days are long gone. You're paying way too much in rent for just to have a dusty old little store. And really bringing in people. I think it's very clever of you, especially to connect with the macaron people in your area, so you can bring in something fresh and unique. That really correlates with the flowers. I think that's a really brilliant idea to really set you apart. And, like you said, you added on to almost every sale. Well, that's $18. And if they get some lip balm, that's $28. That starts adding up to real money when, when you get to your P&Ls at the end of the quarter. So I think that's a wonderful idea. And what markets do you generally go to? You generally go to the IMC Las Vegas market?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So Vegas, High Point, as well as Dallas Market Center. So we were discussing before we went live that Atlanta is still yet to be checked off our list, but we're hoping to maybe do so this year.
You are in Juneau. That's that. But it is a beautiful market, and it's so huge. That's one thing that's amazing about the Atlanta market. It's just building after building after building, and from the top to bottom, you see so many different vendors. And I especially love the temporaries, because that's where you can really see a lot of new up and coming things, and exciting new things that haven't quite found their stride yet. Really can find some gems there.
I think one of the best. Go ahead. Well, I think one of the best things about going to these markets is, you can only go so far online or on a catalog, and actually walking into the store, one of the best things I think for us, our takeaways, is the visuals that you see of how the vendor merchandises their product, and what items they pair with each thing. We would leave with so many ideas just from that's one of the best values that you see in the markets is understanding how all these products work together, and even watching them cross market or cross merchandise some of the products within some of the larger showrooms where they're carrying many different vendors at once. It really sets you up for gives you a roadmap of how you're going to put it together in your store.
And that's kind of the benefit, or a major draw for us too, is because we are located in Juneau, Alaska. It's quite remote. We don't have really any local resources. We don't even have a floral market, right? So we have to order everything in. And so these trade shows serve as a one-stop destination for us to see a vast variety of different brands and vendors and new ones that come and show each year. And so it allows us to basically dedicate those trip experiences to really restocking our shelves and forging new relations with each new brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you guys had mentioned earlier that the plants are an integral part, and I know from seeing pictures of your store, you have quite a lot of house plants that you display and that you sell. What percentage of your business is plants now?
It's probably approaching 15%.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really taken off, and I think you can go around to our different options here in town, which a lot of people have, the grocery stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, the big box, they all have plants. And I think what we've really tried to do is, I frequent all those stores to make sure that we're carrying something that's outside of what's already out there. And we do that, across the board with all of our merchandise. We really try to know that, some stores have already created their niche, in that particular item. We don't want to bring a brand in that's already represented in town. And so following that through with the plants and really understanding what I'm getting as far as, understanding how the growing aspect is, so I can actually teach the client, how to take care of it. But the visual, finding things that just people aren't aware that's out there is so fun.
Yeah. So very similar to how we offer options with our floral designs, plants and pots are sold separately. And so individuals who buy both, they can basically mix and match. And then if you buy a pot and a plant, we'll have it potted right there in the shop while you're getting checked out. And so it's just those additional levels of service, concierge level of service that, improves the overall consumer experience.
I love that. So you have them, you sell the pots and plants separately. It doesn't have to come already in the package. They can pick out their pot and then they can pick out their plant, and you put it together right there in the store for them.
Absolutely.
We show all the plants in a pot, but then they're always priced separately so we can change them around.
Yeah, pull it out and move it around. Very nice, very nice. Well, great. Well, we're going to get back to you a little bit later, but I've so enjoyed talking with you guys. Thank you so
Thank
much. And Caroline, thank you for being so patient.
Oh, I enjoyed listening too.
Right? There's just a wealth of information. Well, so Caroline is joining us from Accent Decor. She's the visual merchandising manager. And so we were talking a little bit about earlier that you have an interesting career. Can you tell us a little bit about how your career in retail started and how you kind of made this transition?
Sure. So I have been in retail for a long time. Started with apparel retail, and then I worked for Anthropologie for almost 9 years. And I did a lot of different things with Anthropologie, from receiving back of house processing product to eventually being the visual manager at one of the locations in Atlanta. And I've worked at a few different stores in the Atlanta market and just learned a lot. And then eventually the opportunity to work for Accent Decor presented itself. They were hiring a creative position, and basically, when I first started, I was working with our showroom team, helping set up each season the showrooms in Dallas, Atlanta, and Vegas. And then I also do all of our photo styling. So that's been something really fun for me because I've learned so much about the floral industry by working with floral designers on photo shoots and learning everything from processing flowers, ordering flowers, where flowers even come from, to, tidbits about how to maintain them, mechanics of floral. So I do a lot of partnering with a designer on establishing creative direction and guidelines when we have a photo shoot. And it's been really interesting to see through their eyes how we present our product. But
what are some tips that you can give us for merchandising because you've been involved in both merchandising the showroom and then also merchandising photo shoots, and they're very different. It's two very different things. So let's start with merchandising a store, because I think Accent Decor does a fantastic job really merchandising their product well and just making it look so yummy and wonderful. You just gotta have it. So what are some of the tricks that you guys have because you've got big open spaces and you got to fill it up with lots of stuff? What are some of the building blocks that you all use?
I think starting off, and thank you, by the way, that feels really good to hear that because we do put a lot of effort. But I think at the start of each season, we have really clearly defined stories that we want to tell with our product. And so by understanding and knowing clearly what we want to say with our product, or trends that we want to follow, we then lay out a really nice floor plan within the showrooms. Depending on what the story is, you need different surfaces or structures or shelving for each product. Last season, or I guess it's 2 seasons ago now, we introduced a story called Plant Shop Vibes. And that one was geared towards helping stores see how to merchandise. We tried to emulate a retail experience in the showroom. And we even, typically we'll show one of each product. You see one sample. But I was excited about this concept because from a store standpoint, I'm used to merchandising with multiple quantities of something. And I think there's a lot of benefit of showing a product in bulk. So one of my tips for merchandising is, mass out product, especially your basics. Those are the things that you're already buying in bulk probably anyway, and the things that you're going to sell the most frequently. So one thing in the showroom or in a retail environment I love to do is really mass out all those basics to create a really nice clean backdrop, and then present something special or a seasonal item in front of those basics so that they stand out and they really pop. I think another thing that we really try to do in the showrooms is create balance and visual rest in between each concept within a showroom. I think that's important for a customer because, floral shops and retail shops, there can be so many littles And you don't want the customer to miss out on something really special by getting lost looking at all the littles. So having visual pause, whether it's with like a nice block of, a whole wall of this one vase, it's really cleanly merchandised and colored out, or a whole shelf, peppered with something interesting. It just allows for the customer to have this experience of, okay, now my eye can rest on this. Oh, look at that really unique thing at this pause point. And then they can travel on through the rest of the store, depending on the size of your space.
Well, and I think that's so important. I don't think people recognize the importance of negative space. And I mean, it's the same in print media. Like I'm a big person for white space. You've got to have white space to be able to really make what you're focusing on pop. And it's in stores, and consumers may not know what it is, but they know when they go in a store and it's like overwhelming. It's just got stuff everywhere. You can't see anything if you're overwhelmed. And so teaching people how, when you say negative space or letting the eye rest, what does that like really mean? Like, does that mean just having nothing there? You said like having a whole shelf being one thing, or what would be some things, an example of kind of creating some negative space?
I'm sure it'll probably depend on your particular retail setup and scenario, but sometimes it can be literally nothing, or maybe you have a fixture that has, I would say, like a mass out or an out stock of a product. And
what
then
does mass out mean?
Oh, sorry. Something, sure. Say you order a whole carton of one vase, or a whole, package of vases, and you have like 30 on hand. You could merchandise them in a massed out way, really cleanly on your shelving structure. And then maybe in front of that, you could put a pedestal with one really different or like contrasting color container with a beautiful arrangement in it. And so you've set this backdrop for something really special. You've created like a stage, a little moment for your product. And you're going to sell both of them because they're probably different price points. You need basics and you need special to really balance out the presentation. And so I think doing little things like that within your space can just help your customers see everything. And like you said, it can be very overwhelming if you go into a space that's really busy and you don't know where to look and there's stuff everywhere. Aside from doing those mass outs, I think merchandising by color in your space is a great way to make a lot of different little things feel cohesive and not messy. It could be things that aren't even related to one another from an end use standpoint, but you could have a pink mug and a pink incense burner and pink candles and, a pink notepad, and they all look great together because they're cohesively colorized. So I think that's another really great strategy for merchandising in your store. And we often do that in the showroom as well.
Nice. Yeah, I love that, kind of pulling together different items that the only thing they have in common is color.
Yeah, I know. I'm like ready to go to our shop and like strip everything away and re-merchandise like right after this.
And now you guys do a really job doing the mass out like she described, and putting a lot of different vessels, because I noticed you would put a lot of your vessels together so you could see it's multiples of the same thing, but it kind of becomes a different thing when you see all of them together.
It does. And it's helpful in like minimizing backstock and inventory stored offsite as well. So yeah, not only aesthetic, but too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bring all that out. Now, so Caroline, do you see any trends that are kind of coming up? What are you seeing with trends that's happening in merchandising or in, accent decor yourself?
Well, we are just trying to really create products that, like y'all spoke about, have multiple end uses. I think sustainability is also a key thing for us. We don't want a customer to sell something that their end customer is not going to want to use again. We want that vase to turn into, I love that y'all have people bring their vases back and get new arrangements. We want it to turn into, a cup that can sit at your desk and hold pens. And then we want it to be a planter. So I think the trend of sustainability and multi-use is something that we're really working towards. Even in our photography, we are making sure that we shoot things in multiple ways so that you don't even have to imagine the different ways. We are telling you, here's how you can use this container so many different ways. And I think also, this is on the photo shoot side, but partnering with local florists is something that, with local growers is something that I have really been expanding my horizons on, because some of the designers that we've worked with, even like a designer came from California, but she wanted to know, well, what local growers are near Atlanta? And I felt like, oh, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I knew a few, but I hadn't really worked with them. So since then, I have partnered with some local growers, like 4 times recently, and they have beautiful product, and it's so sustainable and it makes so much sense. So any little thing that you can do in your shop or in your arrangements that, you know, promotes sustainability is trending, and it's going to help you in the long run.
You know, what type of products do you see that maybe like is in your line that's outside of the vessel category that you think would be good for florists to look at expanding into?
Sure. We did talk about previously, the obvious one is candles. But on the decor side, we have seen such a huge uptick in like taper candles specifically. So we've designed and launched a lot of taper candle holders. And that has been an exciting category because it just makes any home or retail moment feel elevated. And then we also have some really user-friendly things like tote bags that you could stock in your shop. You could make a tote bag into a gift bag or your reusable shopping tote. We also have some really fun plant sticks that have little messages. We have some that say like, love you, you know, plant parent, all kinds of different little things. But I love the idea of not only putting those in your plant, but you could put a little message in your floral arrangement too, to personalize something. Other categories, so many different like trays and saucers that can double as, you know, maybe some of them are food safe, or they could, I love sitting a vase with flowers on top of a little tray and then putting in like a third item, whether it's a candle or a picture frame. I think, you know, having suggestive selling moments where you have these little collections of product together in your store translate really well. And you help your customer complete the look outside of just the vase. We have also little pins that you can pin on a tote bag, and they're such a great price point. So like you said, with the lip balm, you know, if you sell 20 of something that's really inexpensive, it's well worth it and can really impact your income.
Absolutely.
The Woodland box, the planter box, we
Yeah.
use that a lot as far as developing a gift basket concept. When people come in and they're shopping for multiple items, that's one of our suggestions is like, why don't we try putting it in this? And then ultimately it's still a little empty, and then you can add a few more things to it. So it takes a sale of 3 and turns it into a sale of like 5 or 6 items.
Yeah.
And that's something that you do really well, I think, is the boxes, because I saw them online. You even have them online where you offer the gift boxes. And so is that something that Accent Decor is a new line that you're coming out with, is some boxes?
So the gift box that we sell online really started with COVID. And it was a great way to drop ship to customers, you know, because people couldn't get out and shop. So we were making recommendations. I think a lot of them had a candle, maybe an incense dish, and a mug. We have a lot of great mugs right now too. So that gift box was really from COVID times, needing to be able to like send a care package and a treat to someone that you love when you couldn't go shopping for it. But they were really successful. But I love the idea of also, you know, putting your own special items, like giving people the ingredients to create a really great gift.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that, kind of going back to why we're here. It's so important that you learn how to maximize your sales. The beautiful thing about the florist is you've got that loyal customer. You've got that customer that comes back occasion after occasion, and really finding ways to where you can have add-ons and different opportunities to sell to that customer when they're not just looking for flowers, they come back to you for other things as well. So that's really exciting. Now, one more thing I wanted to ask about, because you mentioned photography, do you have any tips on merchandising for photography? Because that's such an important thing. Everybody has, it's so important to have a website. But, are there ways that people can merchandise to make it a little bit more interesting, or to get better pictures, or just any tips that you can give on merchandising for online?
Absolutely. One thing, if you are purchasing our product, you can go on our website, and at the bottom of the homepage, there's a button where you can say, I believe it's download photos, but we are happy to let all of our customers share our imagery that's already created. It's high quality. You can just pop it on your website. You can even convert it for print if you like. We're more than happy to share that with you. I feel like that's just another benefit of being one of our customers. But if you're taking your own photography, I think there's so many tricks you can do. Interesting lighting is something that can make a product go from flat and bland to wow. I think making sure that you have,
what is interesting lighting? What does that mean?
I think maybe it's setting your floral arrangement close to a window at the right time of day so that the sunlight is hitting it right. Or
and that's generally the 5 o'clock hour, the glow, when you get the glowy, perfect color, magical dreamy time.
The golden hour.
Yes, the golden hour.
I think also there's so many things on the market now that you can purchase that are relatively inexpensive. Like light kits at home. How everybody has these ring lights now for when you're on camera at home. But even little LED panel lights that you can just get on Amazon that I find with floral arrangements, since if you're a florist and you're selling your flowers, you want those to be well lit. For me personally, we're selling containers. So we often will light from below so that, we want to have the beautiful floral arrangement, but we still want you to see our container. So we're gonna light from below so that you can see both. I also think, to your point about negative space in photography, on your website, when you're showing imagery, I think it's important to have negative space around the product or around the arrangement that you're selling, so that you can really hone in on the product and not get distracted by a busy set or a busy backdrop. I think that's a really important piece. And because sometimes, and I think from experience, even when I first started, I was like, let's put all these props in these photos and, let's really tell this story. But in actuality, sometimes just a simple, beautiful photo does more for a product or an arrangement than a really busy set. So I think those are some really basic tips, and I hope that helped. But negative space,
absolutely.
Good lighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having your photography available for downloading and basically posting on our own websites, but also for social media as well, because marketing is another factor, right, of business. And so that's something that we keep in mind when we're looking to align ourselves with new brands, is that we check out their own Instagram feed, their own photography readily available on their websites, so that if it's just a shoe-in basically with their own aesthetic, then perfect, match made in heaven, because that's one less thing that we have to do, is shoot photography of their own product essentially. And it's one other way to where you can just kind of streamline your own marketing processes too. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, likewise, we've been putting a lot of user-generated content on our website. So on the bottom of our homepage, there's a scrolling bar of things where people have, tagged us. I think it's #MyAccentDecor. And I love seeing customer photography because for one, it's showcasing their beautiful work. And I like to scout out floral designers by looking at the things that I see. And then also it's just so nice to see different perspectives taken with our product. You know, a really simple container can be shown in so many different ways, with so many different aesthetics. And so I love shopping our product by looking at the imagery that our customers create.
Yes, absolutely. So going back to the photo, I'm going to share one tip that a florist gave me, Jean Pascal in LA. He gave me a little tip a few months ago, and I just think it's so clever when photographing florals. If you'll tip the arrangement up just a little bit and put a little something behind to tip it up a little bit, it makes the top of the arrangement fuller, and it makes the view a little bit better. So you see the top of the arrangement a little bit more. So it makes it a little bit fuller. And that's just like a tiny little tip, but it makes a substantial difference. He was showing me the difference. And when you don't have it tipped forward, it looks kind of flat. You can have this big, gorgeous arrangement, but you're only you're not really getting the full view. Like if you were looking at it in person, you would see it from overhead a little bit. So that's kind of an interesting little tip.
So you're giving it a wedge, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, nice wedge.
So that's great. Now, so we've got a question from somebody, and I assume that is the question for Jeremy and Jason. They've asked, I would love to know how you package some of these items when you deliver them locally with flowers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if it's something that's not in a curated box per se, then we wrap each one within tissue paper, and then we'll have we carry a line of basically craft shopping bags that has our logo on the exterior, and they do it up with tissue paper coming out of it. That's the same tissue paper in which we wrap our market wraps with. So there is that continuity between those two elements as well. And yeah, so it's easier for the delivery driver too to hand a basket as well as with the flowers with one another as well.
And if someone's coming in to shop and leaving with an arrangement, there's always that idea of how do I keep the arrangement from tipping over in the car while they're driving. We have a gift box too that has a hole in the center that allows an arrangement to set into it, that we also use that same tissue paper, our black and white tissue paper in there too. So it's all marketed in this black and white color theme.
So you put the tissue paper in the box so that it's fluffing out?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then you set the arrangement inside of that.
See, that's so extra. That's so wonderful. That's lovely. But those little details, I think, really makes a difference in the experience for the consumer, and really branding yourself and making yourself different, going that little extra mile of thinking that, I just don't want to put a box with a hole. Let's make sure it has our brand with it and it looks like it's complete and full. I think going that little tiny extra step makes a huge difference. And consumers don't really necessarily see it, but they feel it. It's like, wow, this feels special.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. It's something even as utilitarian as a travel box like that, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Really going that extra mile. And I was just thinking about any of the other kind of merchandising ideas that you guys have, any kind of random ideas that you think might be kind of a good add-on that we could inform the florists with?
I think one of our, we were talking about negative space, and something that we've incorporated as far as our negative space goes in the store is using large plants, because it is just a large mass of green. So we have tables that, have a lot of different products on there. And then it goes to a blank of just 2 or 3 really large plants kind of layered on top of each other to create that pause. And then it goes to another table again. So that's been a way of us incorporating, because still 1,400 square feet isn't a huge store, and we still have to have space for the different things that we want to bring in. So that's been one of our creative ways of creating that pause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also, I'm assuming Caroline can attest to this as well, but also re-merchandising on a consistent basis. So whether it's, bi-weekly might be a little too much, but like monthly or at least quarterly, completely move everything around so it appears like a refreshed space for your returning customers. And it allows them to notice new products or products that you may have had on the floor this whole time, but their eye never caught it essentially before. Mm-hmm. And so keeping that refreshed is essential. And then also, even when we go through selecting products, like we may have an all-star seller, but we've been carrying it for, 12 to 18 months. I'm like, let's phase it out. Like, let's find our next bestseller so that, we're not overselling an item, and it ensures that those who have purchased it, it's not going to be at every other individual's home that they walk into. And so it keeps it special, essentially.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's a great idea when you're talking about remerchandising, whether you do it every month or you do it every quarter, really telling a different story in your store and creating different niches and really incorporating those with social media to remind people that your store changes. It's not always the same. They're going to find new merchandise. It's going to look different. That creates excitement and gives a reason for people to come in. And if you're not regularly changing your store up, I mean, it's not the fashion industry where, you've got to change it every month because the season's always changing, but you should still be changing your story around and giving people a reason to come back in and find something new.
I think taking note of what items sell best in what areas of the store, it's through that remerchandising that you can gather that data. You may look at an item, go, this is a dead item. It just doesn't work. But give it an opportunity to look at 2 or 3 other positions in the store, and you might find that it's an awesome item. We did this actually just last night. We remerchandised a few things because of a soap line that was doing amazing. We moved it to another area and it dropped off. And so I said, hey, let's try putting it back over here and just see if we see that uptick again in its sales, and just kind of doing that testing. Part of it was kind of teaching the staff, how this kind of works, and letting them be perceptive of, we haven't sold any of this, and, bringing it to our attention or taking the initiative to do it themselves, to maybe relocate it to a new area to see if it could improve sales.
And that's just brilliant. And it just really just shows your business acumen to understand that it's not always what an item is, but where it is.
Oh, yeah.
And really noticing where you in your store where you have kind of dark areas that aren't really performing well, and really recognizing that maybe it's not the product there. I need to do something. I need to add some lighting. I need to create something over here that makes it a little bit more interesting. It's really important that retailers recognize that different areas have different, feng shui or different energy, and really capitalizing that and understanding that they really need to be moving and changing and be a little bit more intuitive with how they're merchandising, instead of just throwing stuff on a wall and thinking, well, I guess it'll sell or it doesn't. I don't know.
And every item has its best angle too, and to be aware of that. So
just like people.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's items that you want to see the face of it, and there's items you want to see the top of it, and making sure that is positioned well within the store is really key too.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. And creating levels. I think that's one thing we kind of didn't talk about, was really creating levels, because you've got high, especially if you've got high ceilings, that's space that you can merchandise. There's opportunities to create. Everything just doesn't have to be at eye level, at tabletop level. I think that's one thing that they do at the markets, which is really brilliant. Accent Decor does an excellent job of creating height and really using the space and bringing the eye up to use, whether it's bookcases or creating floating spaces, floating merchandising things. I remember they had a bunch of candles that were hanging, and I thought that was just a beautiful merchandising idea. They took a bunch of of tapered candles and did kind of a mobile with them of different colors, and it was just beautiful, and it kind of gave repurpose to the idea of kind of introducing these tapered candles.
Mm-hmm. In retail, your prime selling area is typically 24 to 60 inches around the store. And so, you come to this point of, what do I do with that bottom 24 inches of your space? Because that's a lot of square footage. That's really where our plants have come in to really capitalize on that position in the store, because so many plants are viewed from the top. Some of the flowering plants, especially, looking down on them has been a great way of utilizing that square footage.
Very good.
And I was just going to say, I love that you talked about bringing the eye up, because something that we do to anchor an area in the showroom is to often just put like a giant pot or a giant vase on the top of a table. And, maybe it's something that, in your house, you wouldn't do that. You would put it on the ground, but really like bringing impressive pieces up to the eye level and creating that visual weight right at your sight line is such a powerful merchandising strategy. And then you can also use that product to create the backdrop for other smaller products that layer in front. So I love that.
Well, and that's why I love attending these trade shows as well, is like seeing specifically like Accent Decor's merchandising too, because your ceiling installations, even if it's product like non-related products whatsoever, it's not available for sale, but it's just so inspiring to see these other materials that you incorporate and the movement of such that really just continues to showcase your product. And it's fun. It's invigorating.
Yeah, and I think that's, that's we kind of get down to like the nuts and bolts of why these markets are so important. It's not even just about the quantity of product, which is just mind-boggling, the amount of product that's out there and the opportunities to be able to find something, like you said, that's unique to you. That you can have these little side offshoots, the macarons, the different little ideas, the smaller little temporaries where you can get some great ideas of products. But then just the amazing merchandising that goes on at markets and the creativity that these little nuggets of brilliance that you can bring home and put in your store. Well, Ed, we're almost at the end here. Do you guys have anything extra to add? Any mores, any ideas we can share with the florist? Anything?
Something that I talked about with our sales director before I got on this was just another thing that we are seeing our customers do a lot is just really ways that they engage their customers through flower workshops or DIY arrangement bars or anything like that. That seems to be really successful and gets you that return customer. And I think while it might seem intimidating and be a little more work on the front end, I think that having these like assembly line type of sales situations where you pick out, the customer picks out their own pieces and, they pick the vase, they pick the stems and maybe dried stems. Those are great. Their shelf life is incredibly long. I think those opportunities or activities for your customer in the floral retail world are great opportunities. And we've been seeing a lot of our customers have success with those. So that's something I recommend if you're able to do in your space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Any way that you can extend that relationship, because that's, I think that florists have to recognize they have gold there in those relationships. All of those, everybody that has ever bought an arrangement for you is an opportunity to sell more, and not just flowers, but an opportunity to really expand on that. And whether you're creating in-house events or you're merchandising your store regularly, but giving people a reason to come in, because people buy from people they like. That's what's going to set you apart when it comes Mother's Day. It's, is your store special? Have you created a relationship? Have you created a special environment? Do you have wrapping paper out of your little box? I mean, do you go the extra mile? I think that really resonates with people and consumers today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about that experience. And to your point on workshops, so prior to our recent expansion, before we would collaborate with local coffee shops in which they were only in operation up until like mid-afternoon. And so it allowed us to team up and host workshops in their location and then crossover of consumer or customer base. And it's that collaborative experience basically that, is great for.
That's an excellent idea.
Business.
It's an excellent idea. I love that idea. Partnering with people in your community is really important, whether it's the macarons, whether it's the coffee house, really creating those partnership arrangements really can help grow your business.
And my top tip is thinking back to when I first got into retail years ago, I was told the easiest person to sell to is someone who's already buying. So adding on a small little item is imperative to increasing your bottom dollar. And it's not that hard to do. So always think of something that you'd be adding on to someone who's already purchasing an item. And it's not just a random item. It's really thinking through what is a good suggestion to what they're already buying. And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great way to end it for us today. Thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you so much to IMC to providing this venue for us. We at Florist Review are just so excited to be a part of this and to be a part of helping florists build their business in fun and exciting ways. And you guys you're all wonderful examples of people really just knocking it out of the park these days. We're so excited to have you and appreciate your joining us.